G'day crew. As I record the intro to this video, the actual content of the video is still about a week off, so I'm not sure it's going to come off. I hope it does. I'm going to book the day off work, and I hope the weather holds, in which case I'll be out on the water demonstrating trolling. Fingers crossed. Well, the weather did behave itself. I did manage to book myself a day off work, and I'm out well before first light. I'm going to drop some crab pots in and then go for a troll. Wind's a little bit more than forecast, not much, only a couple of knots. Looks like it's going to be a good day. Port of Brisbane up there. I got the crab pots in just after first light. We've got a magnificent sunrise there coming in. Moon's up in the sky, going to be good fishing conditions. Probably should be offshore chasing snapper, but I've decided to do this trolling video, show you how that's done. These are the trolling boards I was making up when I made my own. They're pretty much the same as Spiro recommended in his article on catching school mackerel. That was back in February 2018 issue of Fishing Monthly. And you can pretty much regard that article as a Bible on how to go about catching school mackerel in Moreton Bay. I've modified the rig slightly. For instance, I've specified to use a ball bearing swivel between the trolling board and the spoon. I find that results in less twist in the mono. You can use an ordinary one if you like. I've had one break on me to swivel. It actually just came apart. I was lucky enough that it came apart when I was pulling it in, and I had my hand on the other piece of the line, and the swivel just fell apart from wear. And I hadn't used it that much, so these days I always use ball bearing swivels. I always use braid for the main line. My trolling rods have got 80-pound braid on it. That's because I use them for other things. Anything from 25-pound on up is fine according to Spiro, so I'd take his word for that. Just that I use 80-pound because that's what I've got. And other than that, in the diagram I've just specified using mono for the line between the trolling board and the spoon. That's pretty much what everyone uses anyway. I think it goes without saying. You don't have to use braid on the main line either. It's up to you. As I say, just that's the way my rods are rigged, and I use them for other things. Seems to work fine. But if you don't want to make your own rigs up, Mr. Bait has rigs pre-made. Just put them on your line and away you go. They're really good rigs. I like the boards that he uses. They're those orange boards. They are excellent trolling boards. I think they're better than the Yamashita boards, which you can't get anymore, by the way, those white Yamashita boards. Someone's making clones of them, but you can't buy the original Yamashita boards anymore, apparently. But yeah, go and see Mr. Bait. You can buy the boards and make it up yourself, or you can get the pre-made rigs, in which everything's just fine and ready to go. I'll put an address and some contact information for Mr. Bait down in the video description. Now this is my usual rig for trolling around Moreton Bay. I have two rods out. I put them in outrigger style rod holders to keep them separated a bit more. Buying the outrigger style rod holders is really worth the little bit of extra expense. You'll see them in use in the action video. And just one word of caution, I wouldn't be using them without a safety lanyard on your rod, just in case it pops out. Anyway, to continue on about setting this up, make one line longer than the other. I've had various people tell me that the deep board is the longer line, and other people will say the deep board is the shorter line. I think the deep board is the shorter line. I think that sort of drags it down a little bit sharper. In any event, you want them at a different distance back to make sure they're at different depths. That way when you turn, you're less likely to get a tangle. And believe me, you don't want to tangle these. Back when I was just starting out trolling spoons, I didn't know much about it, and I had both out the same distance and they got tangled. And believe me, the only thing you can do once they're tangled is cut your lines off and start again. Never did that again. So anyway, that's the basics of it. One line on each side of the bait. Keep the lines as far apart as you possibly can, and have them back at different distances from the bait. I'll talk more about the distances elsewhere in the video. This isn't something I've done a lot of, but I have tried it a few times with success, and that is to have your downrigger operating as well. That is, if you've got a downrigger. If you haven't got a downrigger, I believe you can use the American style planer boards with much the same result, although I haven't tried that. But anyway, the idea here is to get your downrigger down below the other two. Your two trolling boards are spread out on the side as far as you can. The downrigger's off the back corner of the boat, so there's some horizontal separation. manage the vertical separation with the depth of the downrigger. I usually run the downrigger bait or lure, whatever I've got on it, about 20 to 30 feet, so around 10 metres back from the downrigger ball. That seems to work fine, and so far I haven't had this setup tangle, although I haven't had 3 fish on at once, so that's a bit of a danger. I'll leave it to you to decide if you want to do it. As I say, I don't often do it, just depends on the day, conditions, and the water's got to be deep enough too. You don't want to have your downrigger ball snagging on the bottom, because you will lose it. So far I've been lucky that hasn't happened to me. I just pick the areas where I do this. And offshore is usually a pretty good one. Plenty of water out there. The beauty about the downrigger is that if you can see the fish on the sounder, you know how deep they are, and you can set your downrigger at that depth. So you're presenting your bait, your lure, whatever, at exactly the depth that the fish are holding at. I think that's a bit of a bonus. Whereas the trolling board, they're designed to go at a certain depth. There's various size trolling boards for different depths. I usually use the 5 metre diving board, and I do have an 8 metre on board usually. I've lost that recently. I've got to go back to Mr. Bait and pick up a couple of replacements. Now, you will lose some gear, expect that. That's just what happens when you're fishing. So I always make sure that I've got a couple of spares on board just in case, so if I'm going out for a day's trolling, I don't have to stop if I lose 1 or 2 boards. Not that that's a very common occurrence. I think I've lost 4 boards in the last 4 or 5 years. 3 of those probably in the last 18 months to 2 years. Maybe I'm just getting careless. A relatively new fad is to put some coloured patches on the back of the spoon so that they flash different colours as they spin around. Here's an example of a couple of them. I don't know if I'm really that keen on them. I think I can honestly say I've caught just as many mackerel on a silver spoon as I have on one of these coloured ones. If I have a coloured one on, I always have a silver spoon on the other rod. So it's a pretty fair comparison. I've had people tell me that I use the yellow one, or use the red one, or use the blue one, use the green one, because that's what's catching them today. Well, doesn't seem to be the case when I'm out there. But I will concede that colour is a factor in a lot of other lures, so maybe there is something to it and it just hasn't happened to me. You can do your own experiments and decide for yourselves.
I normally like to use Mr. Bait's trolling boards, the orange ones like this one here, but I'm a bit short on them at the moment. I haven't remembered to pick any spares up while I've been over there. I haven't been able to get over there in the last couple of weeks. Work's very busy. I did manage to get today off as a leave day. Life's just a bit busy at the moment. Anyway, these blue things, pick them up from Bunnings. They keep builder's string lines on it. Right, that's what I do. Let the spoon out first, grab the rod in your hand so you can control it, and then leave the drag light enough and watch how much goes out. And that will about do it. That's about 20 metres behind the bait. And that's the outrigger style rod holders I was talking about. You can adjust these ones. And notice how the rod tip's moving. If that stops moving like that, you either got a fish on or a bit of weed on it, and you need to pull it in and see about it. The ideal trolling speed is sort of between 5 and 7 knots, I think. Let's adjust the autopilot or set the other rod up. I always keep safety ropes on all my gear. It's likely to go overboard, any possibility of it. Rightio, that's got both of them set. Different boards, you'll notice there's a bit of a different movement in that rod tip, not a lot of it. Now, time to go over to the grouse knob and start trolling around it. Might have one on there. No, it's popped for some other reason. I've already struck it and let go again. Lots of bait there getting on the bottom. So if the mackerel are around, they should be looking after that bait. Do a few runs around here. If we don't do any good, we'll try somewhere else. There's another big batch of bait on the bottom. I see it in a hummingbird there. Something bigger up there, I think. Shadow the engine over there. And there's the sun just peeking his head over the horizon now. That is 6:36. Comes up pretty quick really, doesn't it? From the time you first see the first little specks to the time it's nearly fully up. Oh. Weed again. Oh, actually I might have something on this one. I think I have. Have two. Hey, there we go. Nice one. Let's subdue you first thing. Turn over so I can get it back at you. Got ya. Whoops, a daisy. Oh, another one up. And I got another one. Oh shit, did he get off? He did too. That's a new spoon. I can't blame the spoon this time.
I find the best way to bleed the fish is to have a nice deep bucket on board, grab some salt water in it and be very careful to get a good hold on it, because I've known blokes to lose their bucket doing this. I've never done it, but it has happened. So get some water in it, cut the fish's throat, make sure you go from the backbone right through the gill area and out the bottom, and then put him head first into the bucket. That'll let the blood collect in the bucket, and don't empty the bucket until you're finished fishing, and empty it away from anyone else that's fishing, because you don't want to attract the sharks and give them the idea that there's a free feed there. Leave him in the bucket for a couple of minutes, anything up to 5 minutes is okay, and then take him out and get him on an ice water slurry. I keep ice in the esky and mix it with salt water, and that becomes a very, very cold brine, keeps the fish in top condition.
Oh. Yep, something on him. Little one. Baby. What is he? Oh, bonito, I'll keep him. Excellent bait. Have you. Go straight in there. Yep, got one. That board's up too, but I think it's more than likely going to be weed on that other one. Nevertheless, I need to get this one in and check it. Oh shit! This one's not hooking. And it's sharp, I know it's sharp, I checked it. I have to swap spoons on it, I think. And this one's got one. Despite all the weed on it. That's just another bonito, is it? Oh, good bait. And I think I might have something this time. Yep, have. Little bonito again, is it? Oh, well, turn you into some good bait. I'll have to change ground soon and have a look somewhere else. Oops, that one's up. Let's slow down again. Oh yeah, I think I got something on him. Definitely. Oh, another bit of bait. I'll check this one while I'm at it. Alright, got something on this one. Oh, another bonito, I think. I haven't been able to find the mackerel again, so I'll do the circuit around here, and then when I come back I'll head off to another spot I haven't got there.
To move areas, all I do is wind the lines in and wrap them around the holders that I have, just to keep them from tangling or getting in the way, and then move areas, and it's a simple matter to throw them out again.
Hey, I just hooked up on something. Brenner. Gee whiz, I wouldn't have thought that. I'm up to troll just inside the bar now. See if we're doing any better there. Would have done better back at the Rouse Knob had I been able to keep the fish that I hooked on. That was a bit disappointing. Got something, I think. Yep, definitely. Oh, maybe on the other one too. Unless it's weed on the other one. Oh, there's plenty of these around. We'll have to be short of bait for a while, that's for sure. Yep, got something on this one as well. Another one of them, I think. Oh, come on. Yeah. Oops, daisy. Okay, well, there's no shortage of bonito around. Not going to worry about circling back to try there again. full of bonito. I got a heap of them. Head on down the rainbow a bit and see what we can get there.
This is a screenshot from the area in front of the South Passage Bar where I was trolling for the mackerel. As you can see, there's plenty of life down there. There's a fair bit of bait, and there's certainly some bigger arches there, which should be bigger fish. How big? I don't know. They're showing arches. That usually means a reasonable sized fish. But I couldn't get anything other than the bonito to jump on the spoon, so maybe those fish were something that won't take a spoon, or maybe they were mackerel that just weren't hungry. Who knows? I couldn't get them, so after doing one pass up and back in front of the bar, I decided that I'd better move on and try somewhere else because this just wasn't producing what I wanted. And that's what you've got to do. There's lots of areas around the bay where you will get mackerel, but if they're not in one spot on a particular time, go and try another one. Don't just keep going backwards and forwards over the same area hoping they're going to show up, because they probably won't.
Let's check the weed before we get close to that beacon, because I think if there's any around, we'd like you to pick it up near that buoy. No point going over to it if we've got weed on. That's good.
It was very much the same story down the Rainbow Channel. There were areas there that had heaps of bait and some larger arches. Not as many as I saw up in front of the South Passage Bar, but some anyway. But I couldn't get anything to take the spoons. I don't know what it was. Maybe different sort of fish. Maybe the fish that were causing the arches weren't as big as they looked. They didn't look huge, but they should have been big enough to take a spoon if they were that way inclined. Maybe they weren't mackerel. Maybe they were mackerel and they identified as wobbegong, couldn't be bothered chasing the lure. Who knows? In any event, I trolled about halfway down the Rainbow Channel and didn't get anything at all for my effort. It is critical to keep pulling your line up every time the tip of the rod movement changes, because the likelihood that it's going to have grass on it. Occasionally you might have a fish on there that's too small to pop it, or a larger fish that just hasn't popped it. But if the rod tip movement changes, there's something wrong. You need to get it up. If there's grass on it, you're not going to catch fish. Sometimes in the bay, you're doing that every 5 minutes. And when the grass is that thick, I've never caught many mackerel. So generally, if the grass is too thick, give up and go fishing for something else. And just here in the Rainbow Channel, in front of the Pingway Passage, is a massive concentration of bait. The bait is so thick in places that the 3D sounder thinks that it's structure on the bottom. It's just incredibly heavy bait. And yet, trolled right through it, and nothing took the spoon. Now, I really think that the Rainbow Channel has a grudge against me because I've never done very well there trolling. I've picked up a few recently. In years gone by, when I used to try and troll dead baits, I didn't get anything at all. Since I've been trolling spoons, I've picked up some bonitos and a couple of mackerel, but nothing really to speak of. Yet I can see stuff on the sounder. And in years gone by, I used to have the big boat and I'd go over in the tender and fish outside these sort of passages along the Amity banks and do pretty well. On a run-out tide particularly, as the bait fish came out of those gutters, the predators would be waiting there for them, and you could do pretty well fishing in those days. I don't know about now, I haven't done that for many years now, but certainly the bait's still there, you can see it on the sounder. Just none of the bigger fish are interested. I trolled on down to the Coolaloo Passage and then decided to give it up and pack things away and head down to the Myora and have a little quick troll through the Myora area, because there's a lot of structure there and likely to hold mackerel. Has in the past when I've been floating pillies out, just never done much good with trolling there. So that's what I did. Just made the trip down the bottom half of the Rainbow Channel at speed and pulled up just before Myora and put the lines out again.
Just one pass. If we don't do any good, keep going to the Lazarette and Peel Basin. As soon as I'm here, I should give it a go.
I did the troll through the Myora area
And I didn't catch anything on the spoons. I did see some bait there. I did see some shows, some arches on the sonar that may have been bigger fish, but nothing was interested in the spoons. The only good thing about it was that I'm continuing to build my database of the bathymetry in the area of Maiora. I think another 2 or 3 trips and I should pretty much have that complete. It's got a very interesting bottom and should hold a lot of fish on the right conditions. I can't remember when I used to fish it, whether it was run in tide, run out tide, flat, whatever, but I know we did pull some good fish out of there at times. And that isn't the end of the fishing for the day. I did come across some mother load of mackerel and bagged out within about an hour, but that's for the next video. This one's gone on long enough now. I think I should call an end to it. I'll do part 2 next week. As usual, the marks and pictures of the fish I caught, where I caught them, are up in fish tracks within about 24 hours of the trip. And I'll finish the trip in the next video. As I say, bagged out on the mackerel, caught a good feed of crabs, despite it being the end of the crabbing season. My theory is holding good and I'm still getting good catches of crabs. Nice full crabs. We'll cover that in the next episode. Until then, good fishing.